Do you feel a constant pressure of workloads, deadlines, and to-do lists? Do you feel physically and emotionally drained? And are you ready to experience some balance in your life? If this sounds like you, you're going to want to tune in to today's Coffee and Confidence show, where we have a special guest talking to you about how to avoid burnout as she shares her personal experience. Before we get on to that, my name is Kelly Carrigan. I'm the host of the Coffee and Confidence show. I am an assertiveness coach, and my business is Empower Me Coaching, where I am helping people pleasers worldwide calm the chaos in their life so they can live life on their terms. So thank you so much for tuning into the Coffee and Confidence show. The mission of the show is to grow in confidence and to have a little fun. So thank you so much to today's guest for being here. I want to introduce to you Stephanie Jennings. Stephanie Jennings is a wellness educator. Sorry about that. And she has personally experienced burnout. So I'm really excited for her to share her story and her tips to all of you today. So please, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Kelly, and hello to anyone who's live and may catch the replay. I'm super excited to be here today and honored to be on this show. So for me, my name's Stephanie Schreiber, and I am a wellness educator, but my background is that I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I've always had a passion for sort of serving and helping others. Natural is something that has been a part of my life for years and years. I know I don't look old enough for it to be decades, but it has, and I'm really passionate about sharing that with other people. So do you want me to tell my story now, or do you want me to
It's
wait?
Totally your call. If you feel called to share your story at this moment, then please do.
Sure, because I know Kelly will have a question for me. So 3 years ago, I did not look like the person sitting in front of you today. 3 years ago, my life was turned upside down. I was approaching 40. I had a 2.5-year-old who had not slept, I swear, a moment since he was born. I had a very busy naturopathic practice. So my practice was eclectic, but had a strong environmental medicine and cancer focus. And I lived in a really small town where patients that I would see within my clinical practice were also friends of mine, in town on a daily basis. So it was really, really hard for me to sort of separate the emotional between my clinical practice and what I was seeing in clinical practice, and then how I was living my life in clinical practice. I also, much like Kelly, and that's why I love the work that she does, I suffered from a syndrome called busyness, and I also had a condition called yes-itis. So when you busyness and yes-itis together, that's a recipe for a health disaster. So I was like a ticking time bomb, just sort of waiting to explode. And although I had all the knowledge and tools, my focus was really on others, and in the process, I really forgot to help myself or to put my own needs first. So we're going to get into that, because that's a very common thing with burnout, is being in service to other people, being a high achiever, being passionate about what you do, and having this mentality of I can do it all. And really well until I had my son, until I was sleep deprived, until I started becoming more vulnerable to my own sort of emotional states. And what ended up happening was ended up getting a viral infection, a pretty significant viral infection, and I never recovered from there. So I became for 4 months, which was really, at that time I was just trying to survive. But looking back on it, I think 4 months of lost time with my son and my family, and my stress at that time was better so back to my patients and to serve who needed to be served. So again, the focus was on sort of recovery so that I could jump back in to help other people.
Yeah.
So that is a short story of burnout. There's much more to it, but clearly now, and I'm going to share with you the tips of how I got there.
Awesome. That is so amazing. Thank you for sharing this story, Stephanie. People like yourself, right? There's many people out there like yourself who, want to help others and they want to improve other people's lives. But it's very important to take care of yourself first, right? So that you don't avoid burnout. But before we get into all that, this is the Coffee and Confidence show. So you know what? Now it's time for what is in your cup. Like my drawing. I'm quite proud of myself because I'm usually not the artist. So quite proud of myself to draw that. So this morning in my Mickey Mouse cup, I have made myself a cashew latte. So I've made a latte instead of, classic milk. I have the cashew milk in my, favorite little Mickey Mouse Disney cup. So I, welcome you guys to share what is in your cup. And also, if you could share, where is your favorite place to buy coffee? So before I share where my favorite place to buy coffee is, Stephanie, what's in your cup? What do you tend to have in your cup?
Oh, so we had some before this show went live. So I had to run out of my house. So I've got my mug, but if I was at home, what you would have seen is I have this very beautiful mug and I use it every single morning and it says big on it. And it just reminds me to never lose sight of my dreams. And so I love that cup. It's so inspiring in the morning. So what I put in my morning coffee is I do modified bulletproof coffee. So I do coffee and then I do a tablespoon of medium chain triglycerides. And that helps to sugar, helps to keep you feeling full for longer, so that you're not starting your day on a roller coaster high and low. Mm-hmm. Put a little bit of honey. I put a little bit of honey, and then often I'll do a drop of peppermint, pure peppermint essential oil, if I need a pick-me-up and to kind of settle my stomach. Or I'll do cinnamon to add the warmth and the flavor and the antioxidants, but also to balance my blood sugar. So that's what's in my cup this morning.
That sounds amazing. You know what? Once we're done this show, I welcome you to put that in the comments of what is in your cup this morning, because I so want to try that. That sounds amazing. So my favorite place to buy coffee is locally here. I'm Belleville, Ontario, Canada. And every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we have a little local market. So we're very fortunate to have that here in our small community. And there's the coffee truck. And it's a local guy. He has, organic options, things, the beans are roasted locally. And yeah, that's where I tend to buy my coffee. So it's staying local. Do you have a favorite place that you like to buy coffee, Stephanie?
You know what? I don't. I love to have coffee at little sort of trendy coffee shops, both here in Coburg and Port Hope. So I have some favorite coffee shops to go to. And then we'll often do sort, whether it be Kicking Horse or whatever it might be. But yeah, as far as local roasters, I haven't explored that yet.
All right. Yeah, well, that sounds fair. I love the local little coffee shops as well. Actually, last year I was doing a lot of Coffee with Kelly, and I would seek out these unique little cafes, these little local cafes, and I would put on workshops at these coffee shops. That was amazing. So if anybody's tuning in live, I want to invite you to leave your comments, ask your questions. Even if you're catching the replay, no worries. Let us know you're here. Let us know that you tuned in. And please, if you have any questions or comments along the way, we would love to hear from you. And as we get going, if comments come in, I will certainly read them. And we're totally glad to help you out. So Stephanie, again, thank you so much for being here. So I have a question. What keeps people stuck? I'm just thinking of those people that are stuck in a job that they don't like. So what keeps people stuck in a job that is literally sucking the life out of them?
Ooh, that is such a good question. You know what, for me, I was self-employed, so I really had no one to sort of answer to, but I think what I heard from a lot of people is the certainty. So there's human needs, certainty, and outside uncertainty, significance, growth, love, and connection. And I think for a lot of certainty is, even if it's uncomfortable, certainty is something that they kind of cling to. So if you have a job that maybe is not fulfilling your passions, your deepest desires, not in alignment with your values. Maybe the culture of your company is sort of antagonistic to your own value system. But a lot of people will, because of this, I mean, it's uncomfortable to make in life. But I think a lot of people stay, what I hear, and we call it the golden handcuff, is, if they're making a good income, or if they get, they're more senior in the company and they get X amount of vacation and sick days and a pension. And that's the biggest thing that I've heard, that people are sort of, they fear change. And even if it's monotonous, even if it's not fulfilling, they stay anyways.
Right. And it's great that you brought that up, because I teach that to my clients as well, as the 6 human emotional needs by Tony Robbins, right? You've got certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, and a couple more. But something that I tell people that's a real wake up to them is that people will give up their hopes and dreams just to fulfill their needs, right? So they're fulfilling that need for certainty. That need for certainty is so important to them, yet they're willing to give up their dreams of maybe owning their own business or traveling more or having more freedom just to validate that need. So yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up. Yeah. So I have a question. Do you think, because I help people pleasers, that's primarily the people that I help, right? So are people pleasers more susceptible to burnout, in your opinion?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a few characteristics. So if you look at burnout, I just want to say first and foremost that it's a very sort of linear process. Okay. So stress and burnout are the same, but different degrees. So your body, your nervous system, your system can only sustain a certain amount of stress for a certain period of time before the system goes into overwhelm, and from overwhelm you go into down. So I think a lot of people are living in that realm of overwhelm. If you look at the multiple demands that society is facing on a daily basis, and even if you just look at what is bombarding our nervous system, and whatever is bombarding our nervous system through to our adrenal glands and creates that stress response. So stress response will affect every system of the body. So your immune, digestive system, your cardiovascular system, your hormonal system. And so we have to look at the root causes of things. So, we feeling stressed, and if that stress is not being, if we're not having the reprieve from that, that is where we can lead to burnout. So people who are high achievers, people who this, like I said, of meant to be, it's up to me, I need to do it all, and that was certainly me. I didn't know how to ask for that as being a weakness. I just had always done this. It was like a deeply ingrained pattern, and I really it was very foreign to me to ask for help. So that's one thing I've definitely learned. And then when you are passionate about something, we all have strengths, and passion is a strength and it's a great gift. But sometimes sort of when there's uncapped sort of passion, that can definitely lead to burnout. So we call these high octane people. They might be type A. But I think there's more societal pressure to sort of be that. And, people are really looking that if they're not being productive, they're being lazy. And I think we have to sort of dismiss that myth or that belief system.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I created a post on my Facebook page, and it says, you know what? I said I was busy, but not in the sense of busy that you would understand. I was busy resting, taking care of my body, taking care of my mental health, right? But you're so right. And who puts those pressures on us? I mean, I think social media definitely attributes to that, because, we're constantly looking at what other people are doing, and we feel that we need to keep up with that. And, but it is so important to take that time to rest, to self-reflect. And anyways, I'm just kind of like out in outer space right now. I'm so resonating with what you're saying. So how can, sorry, I totally cut you off there. I was going to ask, how can people avoid burnout? What advice do you have for the viewers today?
So I think the first thing is to actually have an intentional sort of consciousness around recognizing the signs and symptoms before it becomes full-blown. And remember, stress and burnout are insidious. It's not like you wake up one morning and all of a sudden you're burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
This is years and years of repeating the same patterns. And so for me, a big talk about my recovery and part of looking at the beliefs in happiness and fulfillment and joy, peace and passion. So how can you avoid it? So the symptoms of burnout. So if anyone watching or catching the replay experiencing any of these, please reach out. I would be happy to talk. Physical and emotional fatigue. That's a big. So, things that used to bring us joy that didn't seem to take a lot of effort are all of a sudden becoming mountains out of molehills kind of. Mm-hmm. So, if you're finding that, not only are you hitting snooze more often or not wanting to get up in the morning, but also that, completing a task, you're being less effective, productive. It takes more energy and effort to do the things that never used to. And some people will blame that. That has nothing to do with age. That has to do with stress. And so,
sorry, what did you say? That has to do with what?
Stress. Stress. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Loud and clear.
So the other thing is, when I was sort of approaching, there's so many signs and symptoms. As I was approaching my burnout, in retrospect, looking back, chronically fatigued, I was finding less joy in the things that used to bring me joy. So, being around family, I would start to isolate myself. I'm a very social, extroverted person, and I would start to isolate myself. If the phone would ring, I would jump all over it in the past. Then the phone would ring, nearing burnout, I would avoid it. I would avoid calling people back. And so, it could look like anxiety. It could look like depression. It could look like other mood disorders. Mm-hmm. It's tension turning into irritability and anger. It's also sort of losing trust. And so for me, I remember saying to my husband right around the time I was really burnt out, and I said, why is it that I have friends? Why is it that nobody likes me? My husband was just baffled, like, what are you talking about? But I had just lost this connection, not only with myself, but with people. And so that social isolation and that loss of connection, it could be changes in your appetite. It could be changes in your libido. I mean, there's so many different signs and symptoms, and some of them are mental, some of them are, and some of them are definitely physical. So for me, I was having weight loss for no reason. I was having heart palpitations, chest pain, shortness of breath, digestive upset. So look for the symptoms. That's the first thing to preventing burnout.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just like taking it all in because, so many people these days, I hear people talk about anxiety and depression, and, it very well could be the leading factors to burnout. So yeah, thanks for bringing that into our awareness today.
Yeah. And one thing that I used to say to my patients is, if you look at anxiety and you look at depression and you look at mood disorders, there is definitely, some sort of chemical imbalance going on. But what we're not looking at is what is it our diet, a processed, not wholesome? Is it drinking too much coffee, eating too much sugar, and having blood sugar yo-yos, which is stressing our adrenal glands? Is it that we're not getting enough restorative sleep? Is it that we've got beliefs that are thoughts and feelings, behaviors and actions, and they're not serving us. And so, before we stick a Band-Aid on it, we want to look and sort of, have some time to reflect, like you said, have some quiet time. I saw a quote the other day and it said, movement is good for the body, stillness is good for the mind. And how much these days people actually still. I know I never was, ever, ever, ever. So
yeah. I know me personally, like podcasts are a big thing right now. Get smart while you do the dishes, get smart while you exercise. It's always like, get smart, more information. However, that doesn't work for me, because when I'm like cleaning, when I'm out for a nature walk, that is my stillness. That is time for me to connect with my own thoughts. That's time for me to connect with my intuition. And that's what I encourage my clients to do is, take time, just sit and be still. And you're going to have the most amazing realizations, or the most brilliant idea that is yours and yours alone, that you haven't adopted from somebody else. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's times in our life when we need a pick-me-up, but really, I just had a conversation with one of my educators last night, actually, and I said, when we're looking side to side and not forward or inwards, and comparison really is the thief of joy. And so if we're looking at, well, they have a bigger house and they have a better car and they have this, we can really run ourselves into the ground by the comparison game. And that could be emotionally, we can run ourselves into the ground. That could be or anything in between. So
awesome. So let's hear those other tips that you have. I know there's more.
Okay, so I was very fortunate. I know a lot of the viewers who are watching this, may say, well, Stephanie was very privileged because the situation she was in. I was able to step back from my practice. I was a practicing naturopath when I burnt out, which is kind of ironic that I went from being the doctor to the patient, but it also this really deep sense of knowing of what people are experiencing in their lives, because I've actually walked the path myself. So I've walked the path and I've walked myself out of it. I'm a really good person, people in preventing burnout, but also recovering from burnout. So some of my tips, when I stepped back, I used to do everything really fast. I was busy, and really, really, the more stress that I got, the more busy that I got. And I didn't have that stillness. So I was able to step back from my practice. I took 4 months off because I had to. I could not get out of bed because of exhaustion and other physical and emotional symptoms. I started to suffer a massive amount of anxiety, which was very new and foreign to me. And I didn't know what to do with it. I tried, I could not still my mind. So basically what I did was I got my feet, into the earth. So I walked in grass, sand, and everything really slowly. I remember going to the grocery store, and I used to grocery store. The faster I could get my groceries done, the better, because I had other things to do. And I remember going to the grocery store in the middle of the day one day, and I was pushing the cart so slowly, and I was looking at the and that was so new to me. And so I started doing, and if you look at today's day and age, fast and busy, again, these are all the kind of causes of burnout, or the things that can cause burnout. So Carl Onari wrote a book called In Praise of Slow. And he said today, fast dial phones, we've got speed dating, we've got, we grow quickly. And so we are forgetting to do things. So I really adopted this sort of slow down principle. And it's really fascinating because, like I said, I started talking slower, I started thinking slower, and it felt better in my body. The other thing was, had I gone to my medical doctor, which I did, him and I had a great relationship, and I know, some people might go with the same symptoms I was experiencing and be diagnosed with depression or anxiety and given a medication for that. I knew I wasn't depressed. I knew my life was just really out of balance. And I also knew that I was doing good work, but it wasn't fulfilling me. I did not enjoy sitting behind. I love travel, people, and so I wanted to be out from my desk. And so what I did, because I was feeling really low and kind of affect, is I took this book called The Passion Test.
Okay, yes, I've heard of this book. Yes, love it.
So it has a little exercise in it, which is really fun. So you discern your top, because a lot of people, when you ask them what makes you happy, they don't even know. And so for me, I was part of my reflection is what makes me happy, what brings me joy, what makes me feel alive. And so I didn't know the answers to that because I just worked all the time. And so everyone, not. And so I went into this book, I did the passion test, and I found that dancing and inspiring, things like that are what made me feel passionate and revved up. And so, I found that I was doing none of those on a regular basis. So I started to slowly incorporate into my everyday life. The Art of Extreme Self-Care by Cheryl Richardson.
Let's see, The Art of Extreme Self-Care by Cheryl Richardson. Okay.
So this is a 12-chapter workbook. And what she taught me, the chapter that I remember, is to create a soul-nourishing space in your home where you escape your home. Your home can be your, create a soul-nourishing space with sights and sounds and smells and that sort of thing are very comforting to you, that you can go in to meditate or journal or reflect. But what she taught me is the absolute. So if Kelly were to ask me, because I was always a yes person, yes to whether I wanted to do it or not, and then I overextended myself in my schedule.
Right.
So with this absolute yes, if Kelly were to ask me to do something, if it's not an immediate, emphatic yes, then it has to be a no. It's a no without apology. And so, that was hard for me. But what I came to realize is that as I started being honest and telling the truth and saying no, it gave others permission to do the same.
Right.
And I think we have to be more honest about what we want to do and what we don't want to do.
Oh, that's absolutely true. I mean, that's one of the things that I help my clients with, right? Learning to say no without feeling guilty. And if there's a tip that I can share, right, without saying yes too quickly, it's when enthusiasm is high, intelligence is low. Because how often have you got like super excited about something in the moment, said, oh, yes, yes, yes. And then, you've given it a few hours or a day or two to think about it. And then you go, oh, that really doesn't resonate with me. It's really not in line with my values and what I want to accomplish. And really, in the end, it's going to add more stress. And then, you feel guilty for going back to say, well, I know I said yes, but now I really don't want to, right? So that's a trap that we fall into. And when people are excited about an opportunity, so if I'm really excited about an opportunity and I'm sharing it with you, of course you're going to get on board, right? Because you're going to be on board with my enthusiasm. So I always encourage people to stall, right? Use a stalling technique. That sounds awesome. Let me get back to you. Because it's so easy to get on board with what everybody's doing. And absolutely, it might be amazing for them. However, you need to take time and find out if it really resonates with your happy.
Absolutely. And you know what? I started really checking in with my heart instead of, and it was like, being around this person, how do I feel? And it was more about feeling than what I thought I should be. And so, really one of my things too to my patients, ditch the should, ditch the hope, ditch the try.
Yeah.
There's always hope. But when you're talking, now, one of the big things that I did too, and we might be running short on time, is I really dug into my, which I didn't even know existed, but I started doing limiting belief work. And I'm very fortunate that the company I work with really promotes personal development. And I've more being with this company and being around these inspiring leaders and servant leaders than I ever have in my life. But the limiting belief, for me, some of my top limiting beliefs were more to be happy. So I was like a hamster on a wheel, more patients, more clients, more money, more time, more this, more that, and equal for sure. So now I'm trying to be more simple, have less friends but deeper friendships, not have to many people, and I've what's in my home, which clear the clutter, the mind clutter clears as well. Another limiting belief was, around perfection. And now I've really more just adopted, if I'm making progress every day, even if it's, that is so much healthier and way better than perfection. So yeah, many, many limiting beliefs. And we all have them because we're human. So just start listening to your thoughts and start listening to how you're talking, and that will insight into what your limiting beliefs might be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing.
And then my last tip is, it's because I had such an emotionally profound experience that I wasn't looking for, was that I was really anxious, really experiencing heart palpitations and tremors, and felt jittery, yet was exhausted. And like I said, I couldn't slow my mind with the meditation. I felt like I had to run, but I had no energy to run. And so what I started using was I found a company that's, safe therapeutic essential oils. And I started using essential oils because the power of aroma on the brain, on the limbic system for, controlling heart rate, blood pressure, emotions, stress responses, and memory retrieval and formation is incredibly profound. And super passionate about helping people to sort of introduce these very easy self-care solutions into their home. And for me, it was a gateway. It was, I could plug in a diffuser, or I could put a drop of essential oil in my hand and just inhale it. And, within moments, the status of my nervous system and my emotional responses and my stress was shifting. The day and age where people are busy and asking to meditate, exercise, sleep more, eat healthier, these are all incredibly imperative to overall health. Sometimes it's just so much to be asking of them. So I find that, put yourself in a different emotional state, and then you have the headspace and the emotion to be able to take on all these other health promoting habits.
Yeah, that is so amazing. You're right. You have to just change your state. So whatever, avenue you take to do that, but that's amazing. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing your knowledge and your insight and your story with all the viewers today. So how can people get connected with you?
So I am just in the middle of creating a website and a social media platform. Stay tuned. Right now, my email address is the best way to get in touch with me, or sending me a private message through Facebook. So you can find me on Facebook at Stephanie. You can send me an email to Stephanie, Phanie, at empowernaturally with 2 L's.com. So Stephanie at empowernaturally.com.
That's awesome. And I welcome, everybody watching to send Stephanie a friend request. And I'm going to invite you, Stephanie, to leave that information in the comments once we're done. And do you have any, workshops or things like that, or any, I guess any local workshops that you're doing, or even online workshops that people can connect with you.
You know what? I am always educating and empowering busy families. And so if you me, I will give you my schedule. I teach sort of all over Ontario. So I teach all over Ontario and all over North America. But if you don't live where I live, we can do sort of one-to-one over a Zoom meeting, or there's always a way for us to connect. But yeah, if you want to reach out, I'll be happy to send you my upcoming schedule.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for, sharing again. I want to invite all the viewers today to connect with me personally. My name is Kelly Roberts Carrigan. That's my personal page. And I also have a private Facebook group called Coffee Confidence, where, it's a small community where we are all growing in confidence and having some fun. And of course, the theme is coffee. And I'm relating coaching to coffee and having a little fun with that. So yeah, if you're enjoying the show, I will leave a link to the group where you can connect with me there. Also, send me a friend request, and my Facebook business page is Empower Me Coaching by Kelly Carrigan. So I welcome you to join me there as well. If you've enjoyed the show, tune in next Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I will be interviewing my next guest, the everyday yogi, Sarah Whiteman, and we're going to be talking about getting comfortable outside of your comfort zone. So you'll want to tune into that one, so mark it on your calendar. Thursday morning, July 5th, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook. So I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. And I want to thank Stephanie, special thank you for you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on the Coffee and Confidence show and sharing your knowledge and your joy and your beautiful energy with everybody. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
All right, signing out.